Hello everybody, looking at your cultural timeline assignment. Let's go over this together. So for this assignment, you're going to be creating a timeline. If you're not sure what a timeline is or what it exactly looks like, just please hold on because I will go over that with you here in a second. So here are the steps of how you're going to approach this. So going back to the discussion of what is a cultural expression, which we have been talking about, you're going to select an artistic cultural expression, a philosophical cultural expression, or a religious or spiritual one. Go back to that interactive activity where you had to place different items within the grid if you're not sure how to approach it, or review the content pages on Brightspace or the slides just to revisit what do we mean by what is a cultural expression. Once you have done that and you've picked which area you wish to move on with, you're going to develop a guiding question to focus your query and your guiding research, which really this boils down to, let's switch up the language here. So you're going to develop a guiding question to focus your research on what you are going to input into your timeline, okay? Within that, you're going to describe the cultural expression, explain how it relates to aspects of that culture. So I gave you an example here. So how would sashiko, a Japanese mending method, be an artistic cultural expression? How has it grown since it was first used until 2024? So if I was using that for my timeline, I would want to go all the way back to when was sashiko first mentioned, keeping track of all those resources that I found, all the research I've done, and is it still used today in 2024? What does it look like? Research and present a timeline that demonstrates how the expression has been developed, changed, or reinterpreted, as I just said, over a specific period of time. So how has sashiko grown since it was first used in ancient rural China to now? And really focusing on these 6 questions, making sure you're getting these in within your timeline. You're going to analyze and interpret the information you've researched to form conclusions regarding the impact on and how it's transformed the expressions over time. So what this means is at the end of your timeline, be prepared to show what you have learned from your research and summarize, okay? Your final result overall, you'll be handing in your research and the presentation of a timeline. So meaning the presentation of a timeline, meaning you're going to give me a completed timeline that demonstrates the expression. So the philosophical, religious, spiritual, or artistic expression you selected, how it's been developed, changed, or reinterpreted over a specific timeline. So what is a timeline? Let's take a look at that here. It's a linear example of important events in order of which they happened. So there's usually a visual element of a line with dates on one side, important events and their specific points of occurrence on the other. So this is a quick example of Japanese poetry going from early as 300 AD to present with some basic information here. I'll make it clear now, if this is what you hand in, this would be considered a level 1. So I'll put this here. This would be a level 1 example of work. Okay. If we look up other timelines, if you're not sure, we can even go here and go timeline of Egypt, infographic. And here's a better visual version of a timeline. Pictures, words, traveling through the history of Egypt. This here, if this is what your cultural expression timeline would look like, this is more of a level, going into a level 3, if not a level 4, okay? So more visual, this is what we're aiming for, okay? Going back. So you want to make sure that there's a development and transformation or an evolving interpretation using the format of a timeline to present your research. Where can you create a timeline? Boom. There's these 3 websites here. Most people, I should say, are very comfortable with Canva. So please use Canva. Some boards even have access into Pro now, so it keeps all your projects for you. So here's some I've made for my other classes. So they're all here. Whoops. That was a sign I made for my other place of employment. So use whichever one you feel the most comfortable with, but remembering to really get into that graphic approach to it, not just a written approach. Add in some pictures, place it all in. Yes, it can be a little bit fidgety to place it. If you struggle with kind of being a little bit more graphic like this, please reach out. I'm happy to help you problem solve. So once you've completed your timeline and your research, you're going to submit it all into assignments for grading, and then there may be a discussion board post that we're going to highlight this and say to be determined. So we'll say to be determined. Please watch daily announcements. Okay. So your worksheet that needs to be completed when you submit your timeline can be found down below here. So all you need to do is check off which of these areas it's clickable you're going to do. Who, so the community of people who are affected or involved by this. What is the cultural expression you're looking at? Where the countries or places affected or involved. Your guiding question, which if we go back up here, was one of the steps that you needed to complete, as well as your conclusion of one paragraph, which is what we were talking about here, okay? At the end of the timeline, number 5. You can place it in here. So this is your assignment. Down below here is your rubric. It is on 2 pages just because, font and formatting in a Google Doc. As always, I know some of you may be like, Borland, that's so much to read. It's always good to know how you're being graded and what I'm looking for, right? So level 3 is kind of what we're aiming for. If you are trying to go above and beyond, aim for that level 4. See what is going on, see what's going on here. Really read the categories and then the description as well. You will be getting in-class time to work on this next week. So don't panic as the due date has been set. If I go into checklists here for next Friday, so a week from today. Okay. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please reach out. I'm here to help. Happy to do a one-on-one. Happy to talk to you through email. Happy to just get you started so you can get through this course strong. Good luck.